Welcome to this seminar session. Here is what will be covered in this session. First, the usual check-ins and reminders about things that are coming up. Second, we are going to review the issue of credibility, what it is, and why it's important. Third, we're going to review what we know about conducting research. In terms of check-ins and reminders, hopefully by now you will have completed your first discussion post, along with replies to 2 other students. As for your discourse community analysis, you should be at the stage of revising the feedback you have received from peers as well as from your instructor. Let's talk about research and credibility. Looking back at COM 201, in that course, we learned what credibility is and why it is important. We also learned about the distinction between primary and secondary sources. Finally, we developed a working understanding of APA citation and documentation. In this course, we're going to first review some concepts and then develop a deeper understanding of them. First, we'll dip into the subject of credibility and why it is crucial in the world of professional communications. We'll also review and deepen our understanding of how to do research effectively. We'll also be reviewing citation and documentation. How we evaluate online sources is an important issue, and we'll be introducing a useful tool called the CRAP test. Finally, we'll be giving you an introduction to using Fleming College Library resources for conducting research. So let's get started by talking about credibility by looking at an issue from the news. Donald Trump recently tweeted that the mail-in ballots sent to California voters for the November 2020 election are fraudulent. Here is the tweet that started it all off. The problem with Trump's tweet is that his claim is incorrect. What's remarkable here is not that Donald Trump tweeted something that isn't true. What was eventful is that Twitter, for the first time, slapped a warning label on his tweet that provides links to the right information. We not only want you to take credibility seriously as a professional communicator, but to understand the importance of the link between credibility and documentation. First of all, what do we mean by credibility exactly? Simply put, it's to be trustworthy or believable, which is obviously important in a professional context. And as we know, documentation is a way of telling your readers when you borrowed stuff and where you got it from. There are 2 takeaways here. First, taking care to properly document sources is a great way to enhance your credibility. It's also about realizing the importance of finding and using credible sources. Most people get their source material a little bit like what we have depicted here, mostly from personal experience, supplemented by what you learn from your friends, and then a little bit from facts and evidence, in other words, research. Now that you have 1 semester of communications under your belt, we're hoping that the way you get your source material looks more like this, a mix of personal experience, facts and evidence, and credible sources. Where we want to get to as professional communicators is something like this. You'll notice that credible sources and evidence are now the most important, with personal experience somewhat less so. By the way, it's not that personal experience doesn't matter. An anecdote about first-hand experience can be a valuable form of primary research. However, For the sake of professional credibility, we need to emphasize credible sources and evidence. Let's talk about different types of sources. First, primary sources, of which you have recent experience, the interview you have done for your discourse community assignment. In general, primary sources involve any information that you have generated yourself, first-hand observation, for instance, or conducting a survey. Secondary sources include essentially everything else: books, websites, articles in periodicals or journals. We can also refer to tertiary sources of information, which essentially collect and represent information from secondary sources. Wikipedia would be one example. A course textbook would be another. In the next few classes, we'll be delving into strategies for conducting research. We already know that a search engine like Google is fast, powerful, and easy to use. But how do you sort through the mountain of results from a typical search? One tool we'll be reviewing in the coming weeks is something called the CRAP test. It's a simple set of guidelines for evaluating the credibility of online sources. For most of the research you will have to do for your courses at Fleming, remember that through the library you have access to a powerful online database search tool that will be more effective than Google for filtering out sources that aren't credible. Thanks for listening in. Make sure you know from your instructor when the final draft of your discourse community analysis assignment is due.